Welcome back to Recommended Daily Value. Today, back with Kathleen Stewart, first episode of the new year, and we're going to discuss our goals for the new year and the common mistakes, tropes, places where people mess up in making and achieving their own goals for this year. So Kathleen, first episode of the new year, start us off.
Okay, so my goals for the new year, like we talked about last year, finally seeing some improvement on my shoulder. And because of that, I'm finally getting back into the Olympic lifts again. Except for when I started to get back into the Olympic lifts, I started getting a medial knee snapping. And at first I thought, okay, maybe it's like the pes anserine area, which is like where you have the sartorius and the adductors, like a bunch of things coming together. And a lot of people have issues there, but it's definitely higher. And so I'm working with someone to address that, and we seem to be along the right path of addressing it. And so that's been a positive thing. But because of that, I've been basically stuck to power cleans and snatch pulls. But my goal is that over the next couple of weeks to be able to transition into full cleans, so squat cleans. And then with my shoulder, still need a little bit more work. It seems like I have an issue of being able to keep my scapula and ER externally rotated, but have my arm in internal rotation. And so working on that in order, because right now, like I can get the bar overhead in a snatch position, but it's just too far forward. So the heavier the weight gets, it's just going to go forward, right? And so once I get that back, I'll finally be able to snatch, finally be able to squat with my knees and stuff. So we're on the right path. My goal is for this year is to be able to snatch the bar, like just have an actual snatch. And then my goal for the clean is, the other day I did a body weight, slightly over body weight, hang power clean. And so if I could do like a, I don't know, 1.5 body weight full clean by the end of the year, that's definitely a goal there. Probably won't be able to jerk that quite yet just because of the shoulder and stuff. But once my shoulder's in a better position, I'll actually start working on jerks and stuff. But we're heading in the right direction. And so I'm very excited about it because I haven't been able to Olympic lift really since like 2016. And so I love it. Like I have so much fun doing it, like I imagine you have so much fun, like running and, doing gymnastics and stuff like that, where like I'm
Yeah.
the same way when it comes to Olympic lifting. Like it's just so much fun to me. So I'm like a kid in the candy store again, almost like, yes, like I get to do something I really enjoy again. And it's nice to kind of focus a little bit more on like, power and speed and technique versus like
Mhm.
so much on the hypertrophy side. Still definitely focus on the hypertrophy side though. So I've basically been doing some variants of the Olympic lifts like 3 days a week, and then have like one day of just solely hypertrophy focused lifting. And then those 3 days of the week, I also, have like some accessories and stuff after the Olympic lifts for some hypertrophy work. Because I know we've talked about this before, but like the last basically 15 months, I've been in a, for some of it in a small bulk, and then for some of it back at maintenance again, and like just going back and forth between them, like a small surplus, small build phase, back and forth. So I am looking to get up to about like 115 pounds or so by March, and then probably do. I know it doesn't sound like much, but for 5 foot, it's a good
Yeah.
amount. Yeah. And then do a cut in March. I don't know, back down to some amount of weight. We'll see, but just basically to see like kind of what the build season got me, and then we'll go from there. But really, my big goal right now is like do a full snatch and at least 1.5 body weight clean, squat
Yeah.
clean.
That's awesome. I love how specific that goal is too.
Yeah.
Like it's not a huge thing. It's not out of reach, I don't think, for you, but it's just like it's a small thing.
Right.
It's very specific. And I
Right.
think that goes to show like how far you've come in your journey, where it's like you're not grasping at something that's very far out of reach. It's like I want this very specific thing very badly.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, I want to be able to snatch like body weight, right? But it's like
Yeah.
before I can do that, I have to be able to actually just snatch the bar and like have it in a good position and stuff like that. But it's something I think that we see all the time where people, like especially with the holidays just wrapping up and stuff, like people, they go to the events and stuff, and so we always say like, hey, what went really well at the events and like during the holiday season, and like what do you want to improve upon next time? Because there's going to be a next time, there's going to be a next year. And that doesn't mean, you go from, I don't know, 7 shots to like, I'm going to be perfect and have 0 shots and like not eat all the food and stuff. It's like, no, we like make these very specific incremental changes so that like, yeah, sure, maybe next year it's not a huge change, but like 10 years from now, it's like a significant change. And so that's kind of how I see like lifting. It's like, you know, of course, like shoot for the stars, hit the moon type mindset, but like we have to be realistic also in like what is actually possible, and then also trying to be, like you said, a little bit more specific. Cause I could just be like, oh yeah, I just want to get my, squat clean number up. And it's like, okay, but like, what are you chasing at that point,
Yeah. My bicep size.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I've been actually, so we've talked about this a little bit, but like for the longest time, I could never really find a movement that like really targeted my biceps, at least in the way that I wanted to target them. Like maybe I was getting some more like outside definition and
Like
like
long head.
yeah, long head development, but like short head like never grew. So I would never get that like separation between the bicep and the tricep, for example. Obviously some of that coming from the tricep needing to grow too, but and everyone always like kind of poo-poos on spider curls, but like spider curls have been my like game changer. And so I love spider curls, and that's finally where I finally started to see actual, inner short head bicep growth. And so that's been really awesome to experience and see. And it just goes back to like, we talk about this with like everyone in Transform, but like there is no like special movement that you must do. It comes down to like what movements get you closer to your goal, and like are you able to control, keep the tension of the muscle, all of those things. Like there's probably nothing all that spectacular about the spider curl, but there's something about the setup and the movement itself that like I'm able to keep the tension actually in the muscle, versus like if I'm doing like a, I don't know, like
Like
standing
incline
barbell.
curl.
Yeah, exactly. Incline curl, standing. I can't do standing barbell curls because every single time I do, my ulna subluxes. So it's like, nope, can't do that. Yeah, or like even like a cable curl or something like that. But yeah, the spider curl has been great. And so that's why like I love the programming that we do in Transform, because it's like we use different movements that follow, the standard like vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal push and pull, hinge, kind of more of a knee flexion, squat flexion type movement, and extension, of course. But we use different movements that follow these patterns. So again, people at the end of the day can, like, once they're through the program, they can say like, oh, these movements really worked for me. I want to go back to them and like focus on them and focus on building with them and stuff. And like, these movements didn't necessarily work for me, or I didn't really enjoy them and stuff, and I didn't get much benefit from them. And so you just like leave them. And I think that's like the best thing about like sculpting your body is like at the end of the day, it like doesn't really matter how you get there. It's more about like getting there and the journey of getting there and stuff. And again, finding that movement that, works for you and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad that I didn't listen to it's too shortened bias, like it's not going to give you any gains, because literally it's like the thing that actually gave me gains. And then my other favorite one is, so a lot of people have an issue with like their proximal tricep, so they'll get like a lot of the meats down here in the distal tricep and stuff, but not up here. But I love like 90-90 alternating tricep extensions. So like 90-90, you just like put your feet on the wall in a 99 position, and then so that allows your core canister to be stacked a little bit more.
Yeah.
So your like feet are on the wall, your knees are bent, and then your hips are bent,
So you're laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just doing alternating dumbbell tricep extensions, that's great. Another one, if you want to shift the resistance profile a little bit, is to then basically do the same thing, but more of like a hook line position on a decline bench. And that one, like really hard mid-range coming back up, but still it seems to hit more of the proximal tricep. So that's also been really great for me. The other one too is that like never really saw much pec. Like my pecs would never get sore until I started doing neutral grip, alternating single arm bench press, a dumbbell bench press. Um,
Ooh, why alternating?
I don't know. There's something about allowing my rib cage to shift a little bit
And
back
when you
and
say
forth.
alternating, one's here and the other one's at the bottom, and then you're shifting.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not like a piston. It's more like this one stays up, this one comes down and up, and then down and up. So it's not like I'm here and just switching like
Yeah.
this. It's
Okay.
it's more down like up. Um, yeah, so that has been really great. And yeah, just really excited to to see like after the cut and stuff to kind of like see where I'm at. From there, I'll probably maintain for a little bit and then probably go back into another slow build, honestly, because I think, I just think that that's what my goals are and I want to get stronger and like I just find that I'm able to progress way more when I'm kind of in that slow build versus just like even at maintenance. And so and I just want to also put on a little bit more muscle too. Like if I run my FFMI, like my body weight should be, in the upper 120s and stuff to get closer to my quote unquote natty potential, assuming there is natty potential. But obviously like it does slow down. And so obviously you are like kind of hitting that horizontal asymptote, but it's like we keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Uh but yeah, so I still have like some more weight to put on and stuff, which I'm excited about. It's just gonna take time.
Yeah. How much weight do you have to lose in the cut, or do you
You
want
know,
to?
That's a good question. I kind of want, honestly, we'll see we'll see when, 'cause it's always a factor of like, you think you have less to lose than you actually have to lose, but it's like at what drawback do you want? Because obviously the longer you're in the cuts, the more you're no longer at, positive nitrogen balance and stuff. And so
Yeah.
you're not really gaining and stuff. That's again, like why we use such a shortcut with Transform. So like I honestly probably won't cut for longer than 8 weeks like we do in Transform, like just do a regular Transform cut.
But your
Um
maintenance is so high. You got to be ready to like shred some body fat.
well that's the other thing too. Like a part of me is like, okay, I'm definitely like, obviously you have those cyclical like body image days where it's like, okay, yeah, it's definitely time to cut. But other than that, like sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to keep eating all this food and stuff. And so I've said this before, like once I hit a certain amount of calories, it's like probably around, I don't know, like 2,300. Like so many of my calories start coming in as just juice because it's like that's all I can just fit in there. It's like I can't, like I eat, like 3 bagels a day. Like I can't eat more bagels at that point.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it's coming as is juice. Like fruit punch has been my jam recently. I went from like lemonade to like strawberry lemonade, and then I was like fruit punch. Well, so we'll see where I go eventually. But I'm still like actively craving fruit punch like all the time. Um, so
You
so
got to
we're
try the lemonade with cranberry juice and then maybe you could throw some fruit punch or something else in it. But I like to throw a little bit extra sugar because I don't find cranberry juice that sweet.
yeah.
And that's been really good. And I love it for hitting vitamin E too.
Yeah. Cranberry. I know cranberry juice is such a solid one for vitamin E. And then obviously broccoli too. That's where I get most of my vitamin E from. But yeah, so I'm like at the point where sometimes I'm like, okay, we're halfway through January, just another month and a half. Like I'll be able to make it to March to do a cut and stuff. I'll probably go to maintenance for a little bit before then and not be so much in a surplus like going into the cut. And not that I'm a huge surplus, but I just mean go back to maintenance before going into the cut. Just to kind of prep things a little bit. But yeah, I'm sometimes like, oh, this is a lot of food, but we do it for a reason, right? We do it to like, I know there's like a lot of pushback about like quote unquote bulking, but I'm definitely not like, I'm not throwing caution to the wind bulking, and I'm not in bear mode. Basically, I'm not in like, let's just put on as much weight as possible. No, it's a very slow process. So I am very hopeful, and I definitely can tell, like, obviously I have a fat layer and stuff that's over it, but I can definitely tell that like I've put on a fair amount of muscle. Obviously it's not, I still have a lot more to put on, but it'll be exciting to see, what it kind of looks like underneath everything. So to answer your question, like, I don't know, I think like 107, go from like 115 to 107 would be like a pretty good first goal. There is some amount of thinking about if I do compete in Olympic lifting in the future, like just for fun, obviously, the weight classes and stuff like that. And they keep like changing the weight classes. That's the like frustrating thing. So there's also some amount of like, okay, what weight class do you lift in and stuff. And so I always think about that too. But that's like well off in the future. So right now I'm more just focused on getting stronger with Olympic lifts, continuing to dial in some technique, something that I'm like really proud of with technique. So I used to really, so when you extend so when the bar basically like brushes the top part of your quads and then you extend up. I used to extend by hip extending, and so my like pubic bone would hit the bar and it would hurt, right? Especially as it's getting heavier. And something that I've been like really focused on and I definitely have way improved on is I no longer hip extend, I actually extend. And so I'm no longer like crashing into the bar like that and just getting straight up extension, kind of more like a jump in a way.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it feels so much better, like so much cleaner, and makes me excited because it's like, yes, boom, it's so
Yeah.
good. But my big thing is getting the arms underneath quickly. You could see on my 113 hang clean or hang power clean, there was like oh, such a slow arms up type thing, but I got to get it up faster. I think a part of that though is probably coming from my serratus. Like my serratus just doesn't like to tip my scapula. That's part of the reason why I have issues with my shoulder and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And when you were at your peak in terms of Olympic lifting, were you better than where you are today?
Um, let's see here. I definitely, yeah, so I could snatch, I think my highest snatch that I ever tried was like 53 kilos. So, definitely above body weight. And I was heavier then. And so that was basically my body weight then. But it's definitely above my body weight now. Um, my clean and jerk, um, let's see, I'm trying to remember back. It was like something like somewhere around like 1.5 body weight.
Okay.
So, and then my clean just by itself was like probably closer to like 1.65 or something like that body weight. So, there were parts. So I'm still improving. However, like I said, I think my technique is way better now because like I could hit those lifts, but it wasn't very consistent, right? So that was the problem where my technique it has improved so much that the consistency of the lifts feels so much better, and I'm actually hitting them versus like failing them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so improvements, but definitely still some to improve on for sure.
Yeah. The way you did your little snatch thing reminds me of like how you're supposed to jump on a snowboard.
Yeah.
And I got a really good tip the other day that essentially when you do a 180, it's all in the hips, so you don't actually like turn into it at all.
Okay.
And I landed a few correctly off a jump, and I was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to feel. And there's something just so beautiful about like, yes, this is it. This is how you're supposed to do it. And being able to replicate that is an awesome feeling.
I know, well, that's the hard thing because it's like until you feel it, people will keep telling you like this is how it's supposed to feel or this is what you're supposed to do and stuff. And it's like, but until you figure out that neural pathway and then you like keep replicating it, so your brain's like, okay, I get it now. It's like very challenging. It's exactly like when we have like new lifters come into the program, like you've talked about before, where they're like really shaky and they're like
Hmm.
trying to hit close to failure and stuff, but they're just like really shaky because their body's just trying to figure out like how do I actually complete this task that you're trying to have me do. But eventually they figure it out, they keep practicing, they figure it out, and then it's like, okay, now we can actually push the weight and now we're actually like building a solid amount of muscle and stuff. And so but yeah, it just takes a lot of experimentation, a lot of like small tweaks over time, and then it's like, okay, there we go, that's what it's supposed to feel like. But it's so exciting because like I spent like 3 years 4 years when I was younger trying to kind of fix some of these things and really wasn't able to, or like maybe I could have, but I didn't allow myself to lower the weight enough because I was more just like ego lifting, like no, I can't lower the weight to like fix my technique and stuff, so I'm just going to keep hip thrusting the bar, essentially keep like banging the bar. Where now, because kind of forced to keep the weight lower, I can actually fix the issue. And so because of that, I think it's been a good process. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
what about you though?
Yeah.
What are your
Lifting
2026
wise,
goals?
so I mean, I think this is kind of where you're at too. It's like my goals to kind of expand or like just kind of things I'm working towards, not like I want to hit this in 2026, but running, I would like to continue to improve just at a much slower rate. So I'd kind of like to solve my shin splint thing, which right now I took 2 weeks off running, not intentionally, just because had so much going on moving across the country. I don't have any shin splints. That's not because I solved the problem. It's just because I wasn't pushing my tolerance. So I'm gonna try and run about 1,500 miles this year, which is basically what I was doing towards the end of last year. So I'm gonna kind of just keep the consistency of that pace, which I think will be pretty doable, and kind of just improve, maybe eventually start improving on the quality, but kind of just do like a maintenance dose of running. And then I really want to hit the 1,000-pound club, which I think should be super doable, because I could deadlift 405 tomorrow, I think, if I wanted to. My squat is horrendous, but I could put up maybe 275 for one right now. But I think that's going to go up very quickly, because I think I have enough muscle mass. I just have to figure, like, my squat form. I don't know if you saw the video I posted today.
Yeah,
Hey,
it was way better.
it's looking like way better, right?
Way better. Yeah. Way
Yeah.
better. How is the breathing still helping a little bit?
Yes, tremendously.
Good.
And doing a ton of the lower weight work, like where I can really just focus on form, is so vital for that too.
Yeah, I love Ben Johnson's top set back off approach, the British powerlifting coach. Like, I've been having the ladies in the build group do that, and that's kind of similar to what I've been doing with the Olympic lifts and stuff too. And it is like so helpful, because you still get the practice of like the heavier weight, but like not to the point that you're like crushing yourself, because it's more like a training max, but then, like you said, you get the back off sets that it's like, okay, we really work on dialing in the form, and then hopefully over time those back off sets are what your top set was, and so that's how you just like progress over time and stuff. So,
and it's a cool but very different feeling of lifting something and being like, oh, that was easy. Cool, let's do this again next week.
Yeah, you don't feel so like beat up about it. I don't know though, like so tell me if you experience this with kind of more the power lifts, but with like
Well, it's only been
like
a few weeks, so I guess a few months in the power lifts, but go ahead.
So with like Olympic lifts, after some sessions, like I feel like I'm like buzzing. Like I can tell that my brain has just like clicked it on high mode, and I'm just like figuring out the neural pathways and stuff like that. Do you experience something similar with the power lifts, or not really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with the snowboarding thing yesterday, I was like, oh yes, this is how it's. So I do agree with that in sentiment. Even with guitar and things like that, you're like, oh, this is. Sometimes it just feels right. It feels on. It just, other times it's like, this does not feel great. You're just trying to figure it out.
Makes sense. Okay, so and then what about bench? So like 275 squat. What about bench?
Okay, I mean, my goal, like lifetime goal right now, I would love to bench 315.
Yeah.
That is probably pretty lofty. But again, I don't know. I think I have like the engine for it. But I'm curious. So if I could bench 275 this year, I think that would be pretty awesome. Adding 50 pounds. The question is just, how much in reserve do I have neurally right now?
Yeah. Do you think it's more like a technique thing? Like, do you get really arched up and stuff, and so the bar path is like tiny? I mean, I guess with your arm length, it's still pretty long.
Yeah, I'll never have a good powerlifting bench. I think my form is getting a lot better. I'm also not going to commit to like fully powerlifting, where it's like, I'm trying to do it from like a muscular perspective, but I will say I hate spider curls. Like, I think they like the worst, and I've tried them a billion times. I just like, these things stink. My arms move way too much. I don't like them at all. If I do them like with a support underneath, then it's fine, but that ends up being like a lot for me to set up, so I just don't do it. Bench pressing has felt so good in my pecs, especially with like a narrow-ish grip, that has felt awesome. I'm like, oh, I'm really feeling my pecs. Then I went to do an incline dumbbell, and I like really felt like a mind muscle connection of like, oh, I need to be like wrapping around here. So that has been super helpful.
Do you think so? It's kind of when you bench with a more narrow grip, do you still allow your elbows to flare a little bit, or like, are they just less flared?
Flared slightly, but less flared.
Yeah, so the reason I ask is because it wasn't until I started doing the more neutral grip, and when I do the neutral grip, I don't flare my elbows. It's not like right next to my torso. It's a little bit to the side of my torso, but it wasn't until I started doing that, like coming in closer to my body, basically, that I actually started getting the pecs. And it kind of sounds like a similar thing for you too.
Yeah, I agree. Like, when I was doing the incline press, I could just feel, I'm like feeling it wrap around. Like, this is exactly what I need to be doing right now.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is nice.
Yeah, they
And
end up.
typically I would flare my elbows out a lot, which I always thought was an issue, but I didn't really care enough to like take the time to develop it. So it's just so fun developing like the skills of this. And maybe I'll get into the Olympic lifts. I don't know about that one, but we shall see.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think once your squat positioning improves a little bit more, you would be able to do it like no problem. Or you just have to jump way far out, and then your hips just kind of like take it from there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, for me, part of it is just I think my squat needed enough weight to actually look somewhat decent.
yeah. To like force you into the position, like actually extend and not like tuck underneath. Yeah. I understand. Um, Yeah, I don't know. The barbell bench press, I would love to be able to do like a super total one day where you do the snatch, clean and jerk, and then the three power lifts, deadlift, squat, and bench press. But I still need to get my shoulder to figure itself out a little bit more. But at that time, like if I can snatch at that time, I should hopefully be able to bench press, and so hopefully we'd be able to do that one day. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
But I agree
So
with you. Like I would unless I for some reason in the future like tried to do a powerlifting competition, like I would always just do, stacked core canister and just do bench press that way versus like trying to, limit the range of motion,
yeah.
see like how much can I just like move like basically a foot or so less than a foot basically. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna arch, but not like to the point where I'm trying to arch to maximize like the chest involvement. It also feels a lot better, and I'm getting more of that like upward plane that Ben Johnson talks a little bit about.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah, the
just
scapula
horizontal.
moving.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that has felt really good, and it's been awesome to see all these things I thought I couldn't do for a very long time. I was like benching just doesn't fit me, squatting doesn't fit me, deadlifting I had herniated disc, had back issues for years, and now I was pulling 315 for 5 with ease. So it's cool to see those gains.
It's so exciting. Like, oh, it amps me up so much to like hear that. And and what you say too, like this is why, I look at like lifting as again, it's more of like this art because yes, like okay, if you're moving the weight, like obviously muscles have to actually work
Yeah,
for you to move the weight, but there's still this I there's this issue or this powerlifting creep or like whatever you want to call it, where just move the weight from A to B. And it's like, okay, that might be fine for powerlifting, but like if we're more focused on like hypertrophy, well, I'm caring about like hypertrophying my quads, for example. If I just squat and move the weight A to B, the way that I squat like typically, it'll be mostly glutes and adductors, like not quads. And so it's more about like, okay, how do I put myself in the position to keep the tension in the muscle? And at what point do I lose the tension in the muscle? Okay, well, I need to stop there. If I'm focused on the hypertrophy side of things, I need to
yeah,
stop there, come back up, or whatever, come back down. And then repeat. Where then with like things like the power lifts and the Olympic lifts, it becomes more, okay, now I have that base of muscle. I can actually use the muscle because I have their neurological gains from like actually focusing on like developing the muscle. And then plus you just have more structure there, so it's just going to be stronger, right? And now you can actually use that and like, oh, I'm okay, I can lift heavier and I can just move the weight A to B now. So yeah. So I think there's some amount of like mind muscle that is needed. There's some amount of internal focus that is needed and external focus that is needed. And it just depends on what you're doing, the task at hand of like when and where you need which one. And like
yeah.
levers too. Cause like there's always going to be some amount of internal focus, always some amount of external focus. But like what is the lever? Like the dimmer switch, like how much of each?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an art. It's probably like I would say it is. Well, I think powerlifting and obviously Olympic lifting get much more into the art. Maybe you disagree. I do think hypertrophy ends up being on the more machine-like scale, which is why you always hear like the machine analogies, like just kill the muscle as much as you possibly can, and
Yeah.
such that you don't break.
Yeah. I very much agree with that. And then I obviously don't know anything really about like strongmen or some of the other ones, so I
Yeah,
really can't
don't need
comment
to
on
touch
that.
that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure that isn't absolutely an art though.
Yeah, I imagine so. I kind of am interested in like like stone lifting and stuff like that one day, like just being in that position and like having the big massive stone that you have to like wrap around and like bring up and put on. Yeah, I think that extension would be like an interesting pattern to go through and stuff. But
Yeah, that would be very functional of you.
yeah, I know. There is is it Alan Thrall, I think?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sacramento.
his gym is in Sacramento. I'm kind of intrigued of checking out his gym one day and just
You've
like
never been?
I haven't been. No.
Okay, when I drive down the Pacific Coast, we got to hit Alan Thrall's gym.
Yeah, that sounds great. I would love that. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
that
It
would
will
be
be
awesome.
like we have no clue what we're doing, but you
Well, I
get to
think
use
he
the
has like
platform.
everything, so we could
Oh,
probably
cool.
Olympic lift and stuff there too.
Nice. That would be great. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just do it in my garage and it works for now. I
yeah.
do need to I've been starting to do like like 130-pound like snatch pulls and stuff like that, and I can definitely tell as the weight's getting a little bit heavier, I'm like, okay, I need to get like silencer mats or something so that I don't like completely destroy my garage floor when
Yeah.
the weight coming back down and stuff. So we'll
Do you
see.
have any flooring on it right now?
No, it's just the cement right now, but that's why I need to get some.
Does Mark have a truck, or do you have a truck?
No, no. We have
Okay,
I have a cross track and he's an Outback.
you might be able to fit it in. Go to if you Farmer Supply Co. Get horse stall mats. They're like $75 that you
Okay.
probably know, and they're like 3/4 of an inch. They'll save your floors. They're super cheap. They're like $50 to $75 each. You could probably get like 2 or 3 of them, and then you'd have pretty good flooring.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I will do that because the one frustrating thing is that it's now the bar is up higher, and so the technique slightly shifts a little
Yeah.
bit. But so then when you like actually get on a platform to lift, it's a little bit different, you know? But I think as long as like, if like most of the lifts are just taking on that, and then as you get closer and closer to an actual meet or something like an actual competition, you just like remove them and do the lifts on the floor, and I think it works. But yeah.
Well, you could just use this as a flooring, so you could do it off the floor
Well,
because
okay,
it's
so
pretty
put, oh yeah,
thick.
yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. So put it
Yeah,
completely across. Yeah, yeah, that would
yeah.
work. Okay.
And if you want to get really fancy, what we did in my home gym is we did a piece of plywood, stained it and everything, and then put horse stall mats on the side, so you get like a full Olympic lifting platform. I don't know if you
Nice.
have that much space, but you could always just cut the piece of plywood in half or something.
Yeah. How did you like connect them
You just put them next to each other.
next
You
to each
can
other?
they don't put two of the sides won't be perfect because if you cut them, but if you have a 4x8, they're pretty like machine cut, so you should be able to just kind of glue them together or something. We
Okay.
also did 2 layers to make sure it wasn't loud,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
can
yeah.
we can talk about this
Yeah,
another point for
yeah.
sure. Um, Other goals I have, I would love to see transform continue to grow. I do have a number in mind, but I don't know if we need to share that publicly. But I think like it would be awesome to see us just continue to grow and reach more people, both from obviously like the financial perspective. I also look at the financial perspective as like, hey, we're having more of a reach, we're having more of an impact, we're getting more people in, we're hiring more coaches. Like the need for transform is continuing to grow, and it would be cool to see that happen, and I really want to make that happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's been great to have four new coaches, like working with them and being able to bring them on so that we can have more people in the program and so that then we can make the program better because definitely that the first year it was kind of like you and I just staying above water, like trying to do everything, and essentially, like in the program itself. And so having the coaches there allows that kind of freedom and flexibility for us to like still be in the day to day and like, mentor them and help out and still be in the forums and the office hours and Q&As and stuff every so often. But to then just like make the program better. And then we have two new coaches that will be coming in for the spring cohort, which is really great too, so that we can get more people for the spring cohort. So yeah, it's just been really exciting. We've talked about this before though, about how I still like to like be in the cohorts every so often, and like why
Yeah,
I'll definitely always do at least one cohort a year because it like really you get way more of like a pulse of like what's going on, what are the challenges that people are experiencing, like how can we, improve things from that standpoint. And like actually, like the check-ins to me are so incredibly powerful, like not
yeah,
only from the consumer side, but also from the coaching side, because like you get to see like, okay, this is what's going on, this is generally what's going on, and so how can we help the person, but then how can we improve this in the future and so fewer people experience the same potential situations. Like at the end of the day, you can't always like deal with every situation, especially if it's like, someone's family member ends up in the hospital or, stuff like that. But it's like still like even in those cases, like, how can we default to things like guardrails and using the choosing the best options available and, all of those things. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to still continue doing cohorts. And then definitely the plan is to have a full men's cohort start, which is like really, really exciting. We have a small
Yeah.
men's group going right now that's going really well, and men, like the guys just crush it, just like the ladies do, but the guys crush it too, because like you see, it's kind of unfortunate for women, but for men it's a really positive thing where like you see more absolute change, because most guys just have more to change than
Yeah.
women do. um, and then hopefully start a maintenance group in the summertime where we just do uh, basically all of transform, but it's not focused on a cut, so we don't do a cut. We're just like doing the training, office hours, Q&A, like all that stuff, but just like slowly building calories up over time, or even just maintaining like once you get there, because there's definitely a point where like you're reaching that kind of like horizontal asymptote of your like top end maintenance calories, where you just have to go really slow. And like that might mean, instead of, whatever, like 24 calorie bump a week or whatever, we go to like 4, so like 1 gram of carb a week. Or it might mean like, hey, I'm really full right now. Lifts are going great, energy's great, like sleep's great, all these things are great. But I don't want to increase my food right now because I'm really full right now. And so we just like hang out there. And then like usually a couple weeks to even a couple months later, the hunger comes like roaring back, and I was like, okay, time to increase again. And so
Yeah.
it's really exciting to kind of be in that place. But yeah, it's going to be awesome to, build and grow that maintenance group, keep going with the build group. The build group ladies, they've been in basically a, let's see here, 24-week very small surplus, and they're doing their cut right now to basically take off the, the weight on the scale that they gained during that small surplus during those 24 weeks. So it's going to be excited to see, their gains after that. And it'll be, I'm excited to, grow the build program too. So basically we have a lot of programs that we're wanting to build. So it's just really nice that we have, coaches and stuff joining our team that have been in the program, have gone through it, are like, invested in it, about it, because then they allow us to continue to grow and build these other things. So
Yeah. Feels unreal sometimes, but it's
yeah,
awesome.
I know, especially going from like the first round to this round, like, oh, it's
Yeah.
night and day, really.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any other goals you want to mention before we talk about why people often fail their goals or how to choose better goals?
Um, Other goals. Not from like I have like some like family goals and personal goals and like goals for my sons and stuff like that, but not I would say those are like the big things for this kind of like platform for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I definitely want to dunk more consistently next year. I need to be dunking a women's basketball. I haven't done that yet. I was supposed to do it last year. I might be able to do it, but we'll test it out at some point.
yeah, I guess like, I would love to be able to get into like running again. Well, I don't know. I've never been a huge runner. Like
Yeah.
I horror running, to be honest. I like sprinting, and so with the Olympic lifting, I've definitely been doing a lot of plyometrics and some sprints and stuff to kind of help with that training, because they definitely go hand in hand. But it would be cool to, like I've been running more with Harrison. We've been playing tag a lot, and it's funny because like when he was young, we were having this conversation the other day. When he was younger, I would obviously lower my speed to kind of more match him, where I would still beat him like when we're running, but like just barely. And so it's like, yeah, you're doing a great job and stuff. But then as he's gotten older and gotten taller and, stronger and all that stuff, his like max speed is starting to near my max speed, so that I'm having to go as fast as possible. And something that I got really good at from playing years and years of soccer is cutting and like stutter stepping and like changing direction and stuff. And thankfully, I'm still really good at that. I do, from all of the like ankle sprains I've had, like sometimes I do get a little bit of like irritation on my outside ankles, but for the most part, like it's been pretty solid. But he still has not figured out how for me to not
How to
juke
cut.
him, or like, and so he's like, but he's slowly figuring it out, and he's slowly figuring out how to do it to me. He hasn't figured out how to juke me yet, but he figured out the other day how to stutter step me, and I was like, oh my goodness, you left me in your dust. And it was, but like such a proud parenting moment of like,
Yeah.
But anyways, we were having this conversation because he's like, Mom, like, why do you run so much slower when it comes to Henry? I'm like, because your brother's only 2 years old, right? Like, I have to kind of match him more and stuff, and then over time I'll basically do exactly what I did with you and stuff. So but yeah, it's awesome to see him
That's awesome.
grow, and he's definitely taller and more like long distance running. And so because of that, like I'm interested in kind of getting into a little bit more long distance running. So like maybe we could do like a 5K run together, like a mom son like 5K run or something.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
It'll probably come back to him though, because usually like the taller kids. I remember I played basketball with Ron Harper Jr.'s son, like the guy I played with Michael Jordan on the Bulls.
Oh wow.
And this kid was in 8th grade. I was going into freshman year, and he had a size like 16 foot,
Oh my
and he
goodness.
was my height, like 6 foot or 5'11" at the time.
Yeah.
And he looked like he was just, you could barely run. He looked like his feet were all over the place. Like people were just laughing at him. He just looked silly, like a duck, kind of running on the court. I forget what they said, but like it just did not look pretty.
Not
And then
coordinated.
no, he hadn't grown into his body yet, and I never really knew. You don't know what you mean until you're no longer the puppy chasing his tail. Like they
Yeah.
can't run, and then you see him now. He's in the G League, like crushing it, and I'm like, wow, that is crazy. It's the same kid. He's grew another foot, and then is now insane. But yeah, I'm sure Henry and Harrison will grow into their height, hopefully, and
Yeah.
become more sprinters if they want to.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, Mark was very, like, when I first met Mark in high school, he was very tall and like a little bit more lanky and stuff.
Yeah,
But then he put on a lot of mass when he went to pilot training in the Air Force, and he basically did like a dirty bulk. I'm like, I wish women could do like a dirty bulk and it be a little bit more accepted, you know. But he like basically did that, and then like put on a lot of mass, and then like that's why he's like so built and stuff now. But it's weird because like people say like, oh, it's impossible to like change your frame and like your muscle mass based off your frame and stuff, but like you constantly see that people are able to like shift their like quote unquote type. Not that like, obviously we know that like mesomorphs and all of that stuff isn't necessarily a thing anymore like we thought it was. But it's interesting to see the like hard gainer mentality. Like you can overcome being a hard gainer. It's just like, how do you go about it, and at what point, and what else is going on in your life and all that stuff too. So anyways, what I'm saying is that it'll be interesting to see like what the boys end up kind of looking like because of that, because I'm definitely more of the like the like shorter, stocky Norwegian, Scandinavian person. Like, let me climb up the fjords and stuff like that. Where Mark is definitely more the taller. Well, used to be lankier, but obviously different now person. So it'll be interesting to see what they look like.
yeah, it'll be cool. Will you let them lift at a pretty young age?
Yeah, I've already been having Harrison do some like body weight stuff. He loves like hanging from the bars, and so he'll come into the gym with me and like just hang, and he's been like slowly working on being able to do like a pull up and stuff. He really likes to just like put his feet like over the bars and like hang from the bars, just like play. And I'm like, yeah, let's do some brachiation and stuff like that. But yeah, he's been like working slowly on a pull up. He does like so many push ups with karate, like does sit ups, does a bunch of squats and everything. Coordination, like you were saying, like it's still not as there right now. And so like when he does, like actually when I do give him a weight, it's kind of on the lower end as he's like still figuring out like, okay, this is how I actually squat down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, especially as he's getting closer and closer to 10, like for sure we'll start if he wants to, like, and he seems to want to already. Like he comes into the gym with me and stuff. So, we'll see. But yeah, definitely I'll be all for like, yeah, if you want to do this, if you want to learn how to Olympic lift or power lift or, whatever, that's great. So.
Yeah. I want to go over some tropes and catches before like we see people make a lot of mistakes on before we hop off here. So I'll go through posts that I made last year. I think is pretty good. So you chose the wrong time horizon. So many of the goals we choose are just not accomplishable in the time horizon we set. And that's partially because when you initially set a goal, like get a 6-pack, snatch your body weight, whatever, you just have no idea of the amount of work that it's going to take. And that's also probably a good thing, because if you could comprehend the full workload, you might choose to not do it because it's so overwhelming. So you got to do a realistic time horizon. I also really like to choose the work being the goal instead of the goal itself. So I know that if I lift consistently, my biceps will grow. Always about biceps for me. But I cannot control like me gaining an inch of my biceps. I just can't do it. There's nothing I can do other than maybe inject an inch of synthol into there, which I'm not willing to do. But I can control, okay, the consistency, frequency, and the volume at which I'm going to hit my arms or any other muscle group.
Yeah, I agree. That's the hard thing is like falling in love with the process versus falling in love with the end point and realizing that because most people fall in love with the end point and then they realize things are way slower than they thought and so they just give up instead of falling in love with like the consistency and realizing that, some amount of motivation is needed, but really at the end of the day, I think we talked about this before, but really at the end of the day, it's like you have made a promise to yourself and you just keep showing up and you just keep doing it. And that doesn't mean that you're always like all that excited to be doing it, but you still do it. And so that's why, again, like back to the beginning of this conversation, finding the movements that you
enjoy.
Yeah, that you enjoy and you seem to progress on and stuff like that versus being like, I must do these movements because XYZ told me I must do them, and it's like sure, like maybe those movements, maybe certain movements would be potentially better for you and would potentially get you there a little bit faster. But like if you dread going to the gym or to your home gym or whatever to do them and you're just not going to do it anyways, well, you're not going to get there at all. So you might as well just like, do them. It's the same thing like that we talked about with like the category errors with like, do you need to track your food and stuff like that? Like we very much acknowledge that for everyone, it's not always, the best thing for them to track their food. We obviously use tracking and Transform because it's a time constrained program. And so it's the best way for us to get to a certain place in that specific time. But it's like, you could do kind of a similar reverse with like the plate method or like the hand method, hand finger method, with on the food side. And so you kind of have to figure out, what that looks like for you. Or you could even do it from a like, tracking versus untracking side. So like how many days per week or per month do you need to track to continue towards your goals versus how many days do you need to not, like, could you not track? And so like maybe for you, like, you can be at maintenance and only have to track like 2 days a week. And then the other 5 days a week, you don't have to track. Maybe for you, you can be at maintenance and not have to track at all, right? Like that's when I'm in like my maintenance zone, like that's how I am. Like I really have been only tracking during this time when I'm pushing my calories up to go into that surplus range, not in the maintenance range. Because like when I go back into maintenance, like my body just, the satiety signals, etc., like they just figure themselves out, and so I can just eat at maintenance and be fine. And so it again, it always depends on like what tool do you need and just being consistent for it and figuring out the thing that allows you to be consistent for it. And that's not always motivation. However, though, I do think that like a lot of people, they're not motivated to go to the gym because they're trying to do too much. And so like I think we see this a lot with the program. I know that this was the same for me too, but I think that we see this a lot with the program that like people think, oh, you have to lift 5-6, you have to work out like 5-6 days a week. And it's like mentally exhausting to do that for a lot of people. Or if you like bring that down to 3, maybe even 2 lifting sessions per week and then like 1 cardio session per week, you kind of almost build the anticipation of like, yes, I get to go to the gym again, where like
Yeah.
for me when I was younger, I used to Olympic lift 6 days a week and I kind of got burned out doing it like that. Where now I Olympic lift, like I said, 3 days per week. And then I have like 1 hypertrophy specific day and that's it. And so like you like build the anticipation because of that, because you like are not doing it necessarily the next day. So yeah, so like there is some amount of like motivation to get things going, but then you can't like necessarily always default to motivation. You more default to like consistency and like you made like a promise to yourself or like whatever you need to do to like tell yourself to go, like whether it's a external type thing of like this person thinks I'm not going to be able to do it, I'm going to prove them wrong. Like some people, they need that kind of like input. Other people, they are more like self-motivated, intrinsically motivated, where it's like, no, I just like do this. I know it's the right thing, and so I'm just going to do it. So, but yeah, but the biggest thing I think is like realizing that not everyone always enjoys going to the gym necessarily, but like how can you make it more enjoyable so that the anticipation is there and you kind of like build up a scratch almost of like, yes, it's time to go back to the gym, and time to do the lift. So,
Yeah, you kind of took the next 2 points.
sorry.
No, it's okay. So sacrificing consistency for intensity. So that's going 6 days a week and you try and just get it all done at once when you don't realize this is actually a marathon. The equivalent is, you run a 6-minute mile for your first mile in the marathon when you should be running a 9-minute mile pace, if not less, and then you just gas out super early and you don't even finish, which is literally every New Year's resolution for the most part, or like not every, but like a lot of. And I appreciate all you New Year's resolutioners because it's a good of a time as any to make a goal. So the hack here is to do less than you think you can do. I think so. If you think you can do 4 days a week, do 3. I think that's a great. This is just a rule that you can stick to this. Kathleen's note also has some merit as well, where it's like do more than you think you can do, but be willing to take a step back because then you'll appreciate. Oh, I actually don't need to be in Pilates class 6 days a week. I can do 3 lifting sessions and still see my goals. And go
I
ahead.
like your lift to lift again idea. I
Yeah.
think that's really helpful. And then also like what you were just saying, I think it was Meg Squats that I posted to our Discord channel about she like spent, I don't know, like 43 days like just doing, well, not just doing Pilates. She still did like 3 strength training days a week, but she did like I think like 6 days a week of Pilates or something like that just to like experience it, you know?
Hmm.
And she basically came to the conclusion that people are making a category error with Pilates, that people are trying to argue that Pilates is good for building muscle and all this stuff, when it's really not. It's more, good for the like tenets of Pilates, which is like, I don't know all of them, but like the like core strength and like the flow and some other things, you know? And so like sure, Pilates might get you to your goals, but like maybe you have to do it 6 days a week to get there. Where if you just lifted twice a week, would you get closer to your goals by just lifting twice a week? And like maybe that trade off is like,
Worth
maybe
it
there's
to you.
something about Pilates and doing it 6 days per week with like the social time or whatever that like you're like, yeah, I want to make that trade off. I want to do that right now. And that's okay, right? But then like recognizing that you probably could get the same goals by just lifting twice a week, but you're choosing to do this for this reason. And that's okay. Or like, you could look at this vice versa, right? Like maybe there's something about lifting that you're looking at lifting that's trying to like, you're trying to get something specific out of lifting, but it's like really not meant to give you those things. Where like maybe Pilates would be the better thing for you to choose in order to get that specific like adaptation and stuff. So again, like always looking at or like trying to find the best the best tool for your situation. So like not the whole I'm your hammer, you're my nail like
Yeah.
thing like we talked about. Like maybe you need a screwdriver or like whatever it is, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Pat Davidson said it, I think I've said this before, but said at a mentorship once, he's like, you can probably unclog a toilet with a wrench. It's like, yeah, you probably can. but, but yeah, completely agree. Number 3, you're not willing to give anything up. So I've started playing guitar again for the first time in years. It's been really fun, really enjoying it. The only reason I've been able to do that is because I made a resolution this year for at least while the time I'm in Pemberton. I'm not going to watch any Netflix or TV by myself. I'll watch it in a group. Now, I started taking a Spanish lesson actually last night. Highly recommend if you want to take a lesson, go to the other country if you're American because our exchange rate makes it very favorable. So online Spanish lessons are very affordable. But he was like, you should watch something in Spanish. I'm like, oh, this is actually a good idea. But then it's kind of studying, so it's a little bit different. It's not as much free time, so I might take him up on that. He told me I should watch Game of Thrones, so we'll see. I'm about to finish the last book, so maybe I'll rewatch it for the third time. I also don't know if I need to rewatch it for the third time. But again, it's studying, not work. But
Are
again,
you
the reason I've been able to play guitar is because I gave up the time I would have spent watching TV.
really fast offshoot? Are you a read the book first, then watch the movie or the show, or you don't care?
I don't really care too much. I feel like I end up watching the shows first because they get super popular. And then I'm like, oh, let me go read Dune. But once I start, like, if I could read Dune 3 before the next Dune comes out, I don't know which Dune's out. I would definitely be down for that because the books are always better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With Game of Thrones, have you found that the books have been better than the show?
So much better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it is nice because I have all the characters memorized before I started reading.
So it's interesting though, because when you read a book first, you have this perception in your mind of what this character looks like and stuff. But then when you watch the movie, you're like, did they actually do a good job of casting? Like is this who I would have casted? Is this who I created in my mind? Do you ever find that like dichotomy, that issue?
Well, I'm doing it the opposite way. I don't know how many books I've read before watching the movies, so it's a little bit difficult. I think I read Twilight as a kid, but I think the first one had already come out. But I just picture Tyrion. Tyrion's so good, and I think in the books he's way uglier.
Yeah.
And he's like even when he gets like the scar and he gets half his nose blown off, in the book they describe him as like hideous, like no one can look at him, sort of thing. I think they actually make references to this later in the series where he has a tail hole in the. I don't think he actually has a tail in the books, but like he's hideous in the books. Kind of vile to look at, which is tough. But there's just so many more details, and they've done these like kind of half plots that are true in the movies or happen in the series, but like are partial truths. Like, for example, in the movie series or TV series, area Tyrion rescues Sansa, but in the book series, rescues Sansa's old handmaiden, and
So
she's
interesting.
everyone believes she's Arya technically, but she's not, and only not Tyrion, sorry, Theon. Theon is the only person that knows she's not a Stark.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know. I only watched Game of Thrones, I think through the first season. Like, spoiler alert if you are looking, if you haven't watched it yet, until they killed everyone at the like banquet or
Oh, the Red
whatever.
Wedding. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
and
the
then I was
third
like, I'm done.
season. Yeah, the Red Wedding was absolutely tough. There's one scene with the mountain that you never got to, and it's just like so brutal to watch in the show. And then I was reading, I'm like, I don't want to read this tonight. I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep. And I read it, I was like, oh, this was perfectly fine to read.
The
So,
red the Red Wedding reminds me of I'm trying to remember if it was in the Odyssey of the Iliad, where they basically just like go in and kill everyone in the like banquet. But that's what it reminded me of. Obviously we stand on the shoulders of giants, and so we're just
yeah,
kind of repeating the same things. But
yeah,
it wasn't so much the like brutality of it. It was just like they just like started anew, and I was like, I don't want to start anew. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We lost
Um,
all of your favorite characters in that like season and a half, basically.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways, it's just interesting to me about like reading and like the images we form in our mind, and then like you said, like so much stuff is lost between the book and the movie because they have to like fit it into a constrained timeline and stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah. Anyways, we'll get back to the list now.
yeah. Okay, a couple more. So this is just a rule of thumb. It's your lack of skill, not your genetics. Like everything that you do is a skill. Waking up early is a skill. Consistently showing up is a skill. Intuitive eating is a skill. Tracking is a skill. There's no point in making excuses. It's just like a reason. It's a hidden reason for why you did not win. It doesn't help you. You just need to recognize that this is going to take more time than you thought. And you can either make an excuse or you can make it a lesson. That's really, like I have that saying, no loss is only lessons. I think that's partially influenced from Layla Hormozy. It's just the only practical thing you can do. You can learn from your mistakes, or you can let your mistakes bury you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I love the idea of like what went really well that you want to continue, and then what do you want to improve on. And again, like not taking it from this viewpoint of like I'm going to be perfect, because it's like if you were going to be perfect, you would have done that, right? It's
Yeah,
like, okay, what is the tiniest, like, even 1% thing shift that I can do in order that, like, okay, down the road, like, you know, 20 years later, we're like 20% shifted. And like, is that enough to, maybe we have to do like 5% at a time, or like whatever the number is, but like, is that enough to then get you on course, like the track that you want? So,
yeah, no, I agree. You said this earlier, and this is something I'm going to really try and do this year. Make it easy. So, like, what would this look like? What would the podcast look like? What would social media look like if it was fun? If I wanted to do this in my free time, figuring out a way to do that. And also, like, this is go back to the next one or last one. And this isn't going to be easy. You're not going to get it right in the first try. But how can you make this more and more seamless into your life such that like it happens naturally?
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's like this is just who you are, and that's the big issue that we see. And I think that's why like we all know that we have no dieting cutting issue in this country, in the world. We have a maintenance issue. And so it's because people take this, all or nothing approach, and it's really shifting from, like, okay, I can't be around the snacks or the donuts or whatever, to, oh yeah, I can be around it. I can have, like I don't know, like a third of the donut a day and like a serving, like so 11 chips a day, and feel good with that because I know I'm going to have it again tomorrow if I want to. Or I look so much forward to my meals because I've like crafted them in such a way that like I enjoy them, that it's like they serve whatever like psycho-emotional thing is there about those things. Now, obviously, like there can be psycho-emotional things about like maybe, I don't know, maybe after a soccer game, like you always had a donut with your dad or something like that. And so there's like that part of it. And so, obviously like addressing those things and addressing like, where is this actually coming from? And is it more like you just miss your dad, for example? Or is it coming from something else? And, those things can be really difficult to overcome. But again, like getting to the point where we can like coexist with them and not feel like we're losing control, like maintaining the conscious choice versus like more the reactive choice.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Last two. You think you won't lose. So I think you just touched on this a little bit, or we touched on this before. Like you will miss a workout, you will sleep through your alarm, you will cheat on your diet. Like all of these things are just inevitable. But it's no losses, only lessons. Like you have to just learn from these things and accept that they're going to happen. If you could be perfect from day one, you wouldn't like be listening to this podcast about goals. Like you would have already done it, and you'd already probably be on the moon and Mars and conquered Mount Everest and all of that stuff. And then lastly, you're not missing anything. Like there's just no silver bullet. There's nothing that you're missing fundamentally. It's just a lack of consistent time and effort. And even if there is something that you need, like some magic nutrient, I'm not even gonna say magic because that kind of discerns it. There is some nutrient you're missing. There's some exercise that you just haven't found that's going to fix your shoulder. It's also going to take the consistency, the time and effort over time, the big rocks, and then maybe there's a needle that you'll find on the way, but you need both. It's not just going to be XYZ supplement that solves everything indefinitely.
Yeah, exactly. Like with my shoulder, I mean, I'm talking about I'm missing just like some residual degrees of range of motion now, degrees of freedom, where like before the big rocks, so basically like lifting in the range of motion that I could, that is what gave me most over time, very slowly, but it did. That's what gave me took away the restriction over time. And so, it's exactly, we've talked about this so many times, but it's exactly like what we do with people in the program that are like, well, I can't do a full squat. And it's like, okay, like you can't do a full squat, go to the point that you can before you get pain or whatever. Stop right above that. Let's take one set and get stronger at that point. And then let's take another and like make sure you have things underneath you and stuff. So in case you fail, like you're not going to like hurt yourself and like cause pain. And then take the other set completely unweighted, on external weighted. So obviously just your body weight, and support yourself however you need to, whether it's like holding onto a countertop or like whatever, and like slowly work on the range of motion over time. And eventually you're going to be able to do both together, and eventually you're going to be able to do, a full squat, assuming you want to do a full squat, right? Like obviously we talked about like, keeping the tension in the quads. So like if you're doing just like a full general squat versus like a quad squat versus like more of a posterior chain squat, like obviously these things will shift a little bit, but like same context
Yeah.
applies there.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I've got. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think the biggest thing is that we have to reset our time horizons, and I know that can be really challenging for people, but you continue to see that like people make, give it 3 to 5 years basically. From like a health standpoint thing, like 7 to 10 years is kind of where we see those like big shifts, and that's a lot of time, especially for like the CFSME population. But more for like body composition, like really a solid 3 to 5 years. And again, assuming that like you're mostly eating enough throughout those times, like you're doing a actual progressive like resistance program, like all of those things, like you're not just like wallowing in self-pity basically for like 3 to 5 years, but you're actually like doing something. But yeah, most of the you can make drastic changes in 12 weeks. You can make drastic changes in 6 weeks, but like how are you actually learning in the process so that then you're able to be consistent with these things in the future? And if you're not, and a lot of people aren't, then that's where you get the rebound and stuff. So I think broadening the time horizon can really help. And then having those small like goals along the way and figuring out like what do you need in order for you to reach those things? Do you need external, like, do you need, some people need it to be like, I'm signing a contract where if I don't achieve this by XYZ date, I'm going to have to, give $1,000 to the charity that I like the least, or like some program that I like the least, or something like that, right? Some people need that. Like, I don't need that, but there are people
Yeah.
out there that need that. Some people, so you basically have to figure out, because there's infinite examples of this, but you basically have to figure out like, what are the ways that historically you have achieved things, and then leverage those ways in order for you to achieve these things. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kathleen, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it as always. I hope you all enjoy that. If you did, let us know what your goals are for this year. If you made it this far, we'd love to hear what you're working towards, and maybe we can make some content for you all to help you out with that if we're capable. But till next time, guys, be good.